He's an awesome teacher, but
Good afternoon, I guess.
Yeah.
2 minutes ago. So welcome to the listening session here, first one at Allendale. Certainly we appreciate everyone's participation and look forward to the comments. What I want to do is just introduce yourself. I'm John Kennedy, the chair of the Board of Trustees, and then what I'd like to do is go around the room and introduce themselves in terms of their role and connection with the university.
It's not on.
Diana Lawson, the Dean of the Seidman College of Business.
Majd Al-Mallah, Modern Languages and Literatures, Professor of Modern Languages and Literatures.
Sherry Bauman, University Communications Assistant and Grand Valley alum.
Dan Hurwitz, Assistant Vice President for Community Giving from University Development.
Kate Walters, member of the Board of Trustees.
Tom Fitch from Storbeck Pimentel. We're the search firm assisting you.
Mary Kramer, Vice Chair of the Board of Trustees, an alum and a former editor of the Lanthorn.
Sean Lancaster, Professor in Education and the Chair of Literacy and Technology.
Kate Remlinger, Professor of English.
Deborah Bambini, Professor in Nursing and an alum.
Samantha Rhodes, Associate Professor of School of Engineering.
Ellen Schindel, Provost Office.
Felix Ngasa, Professor of Chemistry, Chair of University Academic Senate, Grand Valley alum.
Megan Saul, Board of Trustees and double alum.
Oh, he's out of here. And so one of the things we'd like to do is invite you all to look at there's other members of the PSAC that aren't here, including a student representative, president of the Student Senate, and some of the members are not able to make all the listening sessions, but we're taking good notes, and it's being live streamed so that we can all refer back to this. Because what we're trying to do over we started yesterday, but we're going to do over the next, today, and then we're going to potentially do some more that we'll add. But what we're trying to do is we have some very rough, broad leadership criteria that we have included as the charge of the board to find the next president. And obviously Grand Valley's in a great place because of Tom's leadership over the last almost 12 years. And but what we want to do is make sure that when we hire the next president, that we obviously take input from the university community to understand what it is that we would like to do better, or obviously some of the stuff is the same under Tom, but we want to hear from the university community as we try to refine that job description as we start the search process. Anything else I should add? And I'm going to introduce Tom, which is Tom is a partner in the search firm that we hired in order to help us with the search. They're going to identify candidates, but he's also going to help facilitate the discussion today. So, Tom.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here. It's quality over quantity.
Turn your mic on.
Oh, is it not on? Okay. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay. I just said it's quality over quantity. So thank you all for being here. And I'll tell you how I want to frame up the conversation in a minute, but I thought it would be worthwhile for you to hear a little bit about our firm so you know who you're dealing with, and then what our role is in the search. So again, the name of the firm is Storbeck Pimentel and Associates. I'm a partner in the firm. And I also have a partner in the search. Julie T is her name. She was at our sessions in Grand Rapids yesterday, but unfortunately had another commitment. So you'll hear her name possibly through the course of the search. But We are a firm that only does work in higher education primarily. We do some other education-related things, but primarily higher education. So, you know, there are other executive search firms that are very large and very corporate-based that have a little slice of their firm that does education. Well, education is all of what we do. And our partners all come from an education background. We've all worked in institutions of higher education before. We have 50 folks from coast to coast with 2 offices, one in Philadelphia and one in Los Angeles. I am based in Atlanta, Georgia, so I get lots of choices of flights anywhere, 4 a day to Grand Rapids, so that's good. Just a little bit about our role in a search. If any of you have been involved in searches before that have used a search firm, we not only work with presidential searches, we also work with cabinet level searches, senior administrators, dean positions. It seems ridiculous to say this, but I say it anyway. It's not our role to choose your next president. It is not. It is not even our role to choose the top 3 or 4 people that you'll consider. Our role is to take the information that we've gathered over the past 3 days from you, all the materials, everything we've learned about telling your story, and go out and recruit people nationwide, get the most highly qualified, diverse candidates possible in a pool from which this group can look at and narrow down into those that they want to talk with further. The other way we add value is by bringing intelligence on those candidates. So otherwise you run an ad. I call it post and pray. You just run an ad and you hope good people apply. You look at the paper and you decide who to talk to. Well, through our network and through our conversations with prospects, we're going to bring intelligence on those people to this committee and to the board so that they can make more informed decisions about getting the right person here for you. And then the other way is just by making the trains run on time, by working with folks that, you know, that make things happen when they're supposed to, so that we have a successful appointment in December. And that is our timeline, that we will be launching the search in May, actively recruiting during the summer, and we will be able to name a successor to Tom Haas in December, which is nice because then you'll have a nice transition period before he leaves. So I think our timeline is excellent. I think the Grand Valley way is to plan ahead and plan well, and you've done it here. And let me say a word. This is a confidential search, so let me say a word, just a quick word about that, because you may get questions, and I'm sure the university community, well, why is it not open? Why do we not all get to meet with 3 or 4 finalists on campus and so forth? Almost all presidential searches now in states where it is allowed do close, what we call sometimes closed searches or confidential searches. The reason for that is so that we can attract a more highly qualified pool. So you can imagine a sitting president somewhere that we want to entice to look at this opportunity. If they know their name is going to be public, at any point in the process, they won't do it because it will destroy their credibility on their current campus. So that's the reason it's done. And with that, I want to throw it open to your comments. And here are some of the things I'd like you to think about. I imagine some of you have prepared things you'd like to say, but just a couple of themes that I think would be helpful for all of us in your comments are, number one, what do you love about Grand Valley? And that's particularly helpful for me. All of these people know what they love and why they're here and why they stay. I want to hear that from you as well. What makes this place special? The second thing is, what are the challenges you think the new president is going to have to deal with right off the bat? What are the top 2 or 3 things that are looming, I'll say? And those are challenges / opportunities. And then the third thing is, what are the attributes? And this is probably where you've thought most about it. What are the attributes you want to see in a new president? What does he or she look like? And I'll throw it open with that. We do need you to speak into the microphone because we're live streaming. And so in order to capture that, it needs to be into a microphone. So if you would come to the microphone. And if not, Linda's going to walk around with the microphone. Actually, maybe we just do that anyway, huh? Yeah, because it's kind of... Yeah, why don't we? So if you don't say anything, she's going to stick the mic in front of your face, and you have to. Sorry. She says sorry. Just raise your hand.
Oh,
no, the listening is for us.
Listening.
They're listening. They're listening.
Okay, I'll try to kick us off then. I'm Steve Glass. I'm the professor of exercise science, and this year I've been filling in as the acting vice provost for student affairs and the dean of students. So I'll come from that lens and maybe get at question 1 and question 3. What do I love about Grand Valley, and what I you know, the reason I've been here 17 years is really because Grand Valley has that small college feel and a large institution that I really like. That we're predominantly we're predominantly undergraduate, but we have these specialized graduate. So our relationship with undergraduate closer than it is for most other schools, and I think it's kind of cutting it.
It's not you, it's the mic.
Yeah, it's just the quality of the mic. It's not the number of mics; it's the quality of the mics. Oh,
I think they want you up
okay. So I guess what I'm getting at is that the relationship we have with undergraduates, I think, is special here because of the lack of graduate students. And Tom Haas, I think, has really exemplified that. He's involved undergraduates at different levels. He's taken, you know, Jonathan, our student senate president, to talk to the legislatures when I know the other student senators from other universities were complaining that why don't we get to do that? And they asked their president, and they said no. So, I mean, there are these things that Tom Haas has done that has been really strong for helping develop our undergraduates. And I think our undergraduates get sort of a graduate level experience in many cases. And I'd like to see that continue, modeled at the level of the president, where there's really that relationship, and he really has that relationship with our undergraduate students. And I think that's really part of the nature of our university. So we certainly need that modeled, I think, in our president.
Thank you.
I was about to hand it to you.
So good afternoon, Chris Pluff from the Provost Office. I guess if we're talking about the things that make us special, and I shared a few of these things in our session yesterday as well, but for the others here, I think first and foremost, it's the people. That is what makes this institution what it is. And that starts with our students. We have exceptional students who are not only talented, but are driven, are hardworking, and they make this what it is. But it's also the faculty and the staff that we have here. So we have so many other things that make us special that it's hard to pinpoint just those few things. But I start with the people. Like I said, the students, the faculty, and the staff. And then obviously we are situated in a place where the facilities and the resources that we have, I think, are top notch. They're modern, they're up to date, and that's, I think, something that's special about us compared to some other institutions that may be not experiencing some of those same things, as well as, you know, the location that we're situated at physically here in the state of Michigan. We have access to so many different excellent resources with various communities and cities in the area, whether it be Allendale or Grand Rapids or the shoreline in Holland and Muskegon. So all the things that comes with that. Both culturally as well as socially, but then we also have all of the other things, you know, in the community that help as well with some of the outdoors, and like I said, there's just a lot of things here that make this an attractive place to be, in addition to what this place itself is here at Grand Valley. So I think this is like the best place to be. I'm not sure why anybody wouldn't want to come here and be the president.
I'm Bob Schoofs. I'm the Arts and Humanities librarian here. And one of the things I really appreciate at Grand Valley is the fact that faculty governance is not just a phrase we like to use that sounds good, but it means what it says, and that the faculty are very much involved in what happens here. So I would want, in answer to question number 3, I would certainly want a president who could understand, appreciate, and support continuing that. And in order for that to happen, I would expect that the successful candidate would be someone who really is an academician. So I would not expect that we would be hiring a former politician or a really successful business person who does not have that kind of academic background. So those are some things I would certainly look for. And of course, I mentioned some of those things because other institutions have done that, and I hope we don't. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Bruce Ostroy, teach biology here in. You have to hold it the right angle.
You were fine. You were fine.
Okay. Teach biology here in Grand Valley, and I came here to the listening session because I'd like to find out what was the plan of hiring a new president. I would like to strongly suggest that you are successful in this process, because last year we went through a search for a provost, and there were some excellent candidates. The room was actually quite full for those provost search sessions, because the candidates were on here and we were getting to meet them. Unfortunately, for some reason, and I'm not sure exactly why, the provost search was not successful. And I'm really impressed with Dr. Simatilli, and she thinks she's doing a great job. But I would like to. I think you should probably look at the provost search results and see why was that not successful. The word that I heard was that it was the person that nobody was a good fit for Grand Valley. Didn't quite fit. So probably one of the major tasks that you all have is to figure out what is the fit for our president, somebody who's going to fit well with Grand Valley, and find that person. I thought there were some actually great provost candidates. They could have been great here. Then when the president comes on board, I'd like to find out, make sure that person has a plan for who they're going to appoint for their team. Are they going to do a complete management shift? That's not uncommon for new administrators to come in and clean house and put in their own people. We have a good current staff, and it'd be great if the person would fit in with the current staff rather than doing a house clean. And then the president role is, so I'm much more in line with the provost because that's the academic officer, and so I don't have too many dealings with the president because we're faculty here, and maybe that's a good thing. You don't get called in front of the president or even by the provost there, but we have much more close alignment with the provost. So I look for a president that could work very well with our current provost or with whoever's going to come on board with that, because that is the person who really manages us, the faculty members. And so the president, I think, is a real gregarious face of the university. And I think it would be really nifty if we had finally, after all these years, a female president. Would be excellent.
Ooh.
Thank you. Our firm didn't do the provost search. That was the Let me just make that clear.
Actually, I'm a international student who came from China, and I love Grand Valley because I think it's a really diverse university, and also we connect with all the students around the world. I still remember when I get my first admission of Grand Valley, it is from President Haas. He went to our my college city, Xi'an, in China, and he handed my admission to me. It's it feels so good, and also I feel like I stay here for almost 1.5 years. I feel like I can find a sense of belongings. I belong here, and I feel like everything here is so close to me. Like here is just like a family, I feel like. And also we have very good teacher here. Like I have two professors just over there, Professor Remblinger and Professor Lancaster. So I really like here. And also because it's my first time to hold a microphone and talk publicly, kind of nervous. Yeah. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you for that perspective. That's very nice. We got that on tape, right?
Good afternoon. My name is Natalia. I'm a student here. I won't repeat what everyone said about what they like about Grand Valley because I generally agree with those statements. One thing I do look for in the new president, I hope, is an improvement in alumni relations. I'd like to see someone who does a little bit more efforts besides it, because I know that there's a lot of connections with asking for donations, and there's also the job board online, but I'd like to see someone who makes me, although there are some resources available, I'd like to see the president especially sort of encouraging students not only to graduate, but to go out into the world, so that way we don't feel like we're going in blind. That's my first expectation and sort of thing I hope to see from a new president. In addition to, I'd like to see more diversity, while we don't have no idea who the candidates are, but I know for me personally, I stood at this institution because I saw particularly women of color who were able to encourage me to stay here. So if I saw someone in higher level administration who looked like me and sounded like me and had the same background as me, I'd feel much more encouraged to one day have their job and you guys hire me someday. But that's something I really hope that you guys look for and sort of pay closer attention to. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe you'll be the 6th president.
My name is Mike Mesner. I'm Director of Student Success Programs at Grand Valley, but I've got 2 degrees from Grand Valley as well. So I got alumni status, work here. Couple things. Challenges, I would say one of the things, mission creep is something we've got to look out for. I think when I think about Grand Valley, we need to make sure we stay true to what we are, like a great, comprehensive regional institution. We also, last time I checked, are the 2nd largest behind Michigan State undergraduate serving institution in the state right now. I hope we stay focused on that. That's what we do great, and it's a really important part of what we're doing here. I also think balancing enrollment, budget, and quality. I mean, that's a challenge everywhere. That's going to be a huge challenge here when you look at state funding, when you look at serving our community, serving the folks in our area, making sure access is still a priority for students who want to come to Grand Valley. In doing that, knowing we've got changing budget models, changing demographics, as well as a commitment to our state and our communities. So I think that's going to be a balance, and that enrollment thing is key. And it's not only retention. We talk retention all the time, but it's progression is actually a better measure. It is students earning 30 credit hours by the time they hit their sophomore year and in good academic standing. So it's a multiple things. It's not just continuing to retain students, but moving them really intentionally towards earning their degrees at our institution and going back in and serving their communities. A couple challenges. The things I would say I hope we're looking for are things that we all want: integrity, vision, a strategic approach to what we need to do in the next few years, and demonstrated experience in those areas. I also think, in saying that, the fact is I think it's less than 20% of presidents across the country now have been tenured faculty members. So I think that's an important piece, but I also hope that we're looking broader than only out of the faculty side of the house, because I think we need somebody that's got holistic, big picture leadership management experience. I hope, some of the areas where you're seeing a big increase in presidents are coming out of enrollment development vice presidencies, student affairs vice presidencies, and inclusion and equity vice presidency areas. So I hope at least we're considering some of those folks, in addition to folks who have been academic deans or provosts when we're looking at our presidential candidates. Thanks.
Thank you, and you're absolutely right. We're seeing many more presidencies that are being filled by people who are from the academy, but not necessarily through the faculty rank.
Don't blink.
I love it, Lynn. Let me throw something out here. So think about this. If the new president comes in and is wildly successful, what is Grand Valley going to look like in 5 years? Give me a phrase. Or 10. 5 years or 10 years. What would be different?
Let me think about that one. That wasn't the thought I was going to make. I was actually going to follow up on a couple of the other thoughts here, Mike's and so forth. I think when we're talking about the last search that we did for the provost and so forth, and why that may have not been successful with some of the candidates, my impression is that we tended to get in some of those searches and some other past leadership searches, people who are trying to make a next step from something that they were in that was maybe smaller, less broad-based and so forth, and we were I viewed it as sort of maybe a stepping stone. And maybe it's because our name isn't as recognizable. I mean, those who have been here, some of those folks who haven't been here before, don't know the real gem that we have here at Grand Valley and know the quality that it is and so forth, if they just see the name from somewhere else in the country that they're looking at. And so I don't think I'm as interested in somebody who's been from a real small department or a smaller institution who's coming here to sort of learn the ropes at a larger institution that we are, because they see that we're a little bit larger in student size and faculty and staff size. I would hope that we would be able to attract a very high quality candidate who's got broad level experience with an institution similar to ours. Maybe not in a president's role, it doesn't have to be coming from another presidency, but someone in a senior leadership role at a fairly large institution that's similar to us. That this is something that they're going to be able to work with us to take us that next step in the next 5 to 10 years, and not be trying to learn what to do with an institution our size for the first 5 years and then be on to something bigger and better in their mind, if that's what their thought process is. And I got the sense that some of the candidates we've seen for some of the other positions, that was sort of the role, and that's why they weren't a good fit, I think, for who we are and what we're looking for. And granted, I know we get what we get in terms of that attraction, but that's where I hope your firm will be able to help in a large way to show that this is a place that deserves to have somebody of that quality to come here and be that president. So that's just some other thoughts I wanted to share with that, and that's my perception on some of those past searches too.
Thank you.
So now we're going in reverse. I'm back. In answer to your question, then, and when I think about the things that most concern me for the next couple of years, again, relates to the students. It's access to this university. So, I mean, our planning, our governance, our provost. I mean, I'm confident how we'll approach our educational mission, but I'm concerned that students that right now are on the bubble, that are barely hanging in there with us financially, are not going to be, those types of students won't be here in 5 years. And we're gonna lose students that where we could really make a difference in our region. So somehow we need to look at ways we can better fund our students to come to Grand Valley. And I don't know if that means extending our story to a larger audience to try to get support in different ways. We have a very good product, if you want to look at it that way, as far as the students that we graduate. And we need to get that message out, I think, more, and get the resources we need so that someone who doesn't have the kind of resources that it takes to go to college can come to Grand Valley and really get a unique experience, and then give back to our region. So I think that's really going to be an issue in these next few years. It's already an issue, but I think it's just going to get worse.
Thank you. And presidential search is a wonderful way to tell the story nationwide. Whenever an institution does a presidential search, it's an excellent way to tell your story. So this is a good opportunity. You haven't had that opportunity too many times, which is good.
Just a comment that tails on with what Steve said. I think the president needs to be, upcoming president, any president would need to be really forceful and push the state of Michigan for proper appropriations. So my understanding is that we have been underfunded relative to other public universities for years and haven't really, drawn that, played that card and asked, cast in our chips, and played it very carefully for the previous two presidents, at least that I've been here. Mr. McClogan's been very actively working on that, trying to get the state to cough up their fair share to Grand Valley. So we need a president that's going to be really quite forceful with the state of Michigan, knows that that game, and can be that person. That'll really help, I think, also with the student retention, student money, monetary side, if the state would finally kick in their proper level of appropriations.
Thank you. Do members of the committee have questions they'd like to ask the audience?
I'm curious, we've talked a little bit about, and this theme came up yesterday in the sessions as well, that this is a hidden gem, that we have something so special, and I think everybody at this table agrees. If you were going to market this position, I mean, we talked a little bit before about this is the quality of life and all these other things, but how would you position this university, and how would you tell that story in order to persuade someone to take this position? If you had the chance to be Tom, and you were trying, because the institution doesn't have the profile nationally that many universities have, for a lot of different reasons. I think we've been too inward focused and limited resources. Perhaps we spent the limited resources on student recruitment. So if you were Tom and you were trying to one-on-one talk to somebody who you thought was a stellar candidate, how would you sell it? How would you sell Grand Valley?
Well, again, I apologize. I think I shared some of these thoughts yesterday in one of the sessions, but I think it's a whole number of reasons. Some of it we've already mentioned, that you've got an institution that has high-quality students. So you've got a very good group of students you're working with first and foremost, undergraduate and graduate level. I think that's key. I mean, our profile is very strong within the state and the region from that standpoint. So it's not as if you're having to come in and work with a lower caliber student. So that's a plus. While we have our challenges ahead of us financially and so forth, we've been very well managed and run from our board down through our leadership teams and so forth. And so there's not the same level of, again, we have our challenges that we're going to have to work with here and so forth, but we don't have the same level of challenges some other states and institutions are facing when it comes to financials and just facilities and repair and so forth and so on. So I think a president should be able to see, a potential president has the opportunity to see that we have these good inputs, so to speak. I come from an engineering background. We have great students. Already have great staff and faculty on board. They can take this already gem and take it to the next level. And I think that should be attractive. That's how I would sell it to somebody who's high quality, because they're not going to be here to just put out fires all the time and make sure that we stay afloat. That's not at least how I feel. This is someone who can take an institution that's already very high quality and make it that next gem that is more nationally recognized. And that's an opportunity to really put a stamp on something, I think, for somebody who has that sort of a drive and interest in doing so. I would think someone in that kind of a role would want to do that, and it's not going to be so inwardly focused. They can take us to the next level and really put their stamp on this institution, on the state, and on this region, I think. And I think that should be attractive. to somebody who's got those skill sets.
Thank you.
I have a follow-up.
Should not. It's illegal, you're right. I think what Chris has said has been brought up, take this institution to the next level. I was just curious, what does that next level look like? Is that sort of, we don't want to go D1, we don't want to go R1, you know, what's L1, what's next, what's version 2.0 of Grand Valley?
Fortunately, that's along the lines of, I'm Debbie Morrow. I'm a librarian. I've been here since 1991, so I've spanned the last 3 presidents and lots of growth and lots of just really amazing development, and in particular the decision, the very conscious decision to focus on being a liberal arts institution in spite of our size, in spite of encompassing graduate level programs as well as undergraduate, to have that liberal arts core and the teaching student-centered focus. And so we need to find somebody who is going to love and believe in those things if we're going to stay on that track. And I surely hope that we would. I think it would be a terrible mistake to have. We went through the period when the football team was doing really, really well and winning all the time, and there were, you know, some people who thought, oh, we've got to move up to Division I, and this is, why would we stay? You know, what's the good in being the winners of Division II all the time? Well, it's because the students and their education comes first, not sports, not big contracts with the TV stations, not that stuff. That's not what's going to make the world go around. So I would want to see somebody who is willing and able to take on continuing that mission to support, even in some kind of difficult and challenging times right now, that knowing stuff, being educated, being able to and interested in inquiring and learning are all, they're good things. They're common goods, they're civic goods, they're what will last us much longer than some of the other kinds of things that are driving society these days.
Thank you.
I do not want to hog anything, but again, when you think about competitiveness, what's our next level of going? I'm always thinking about that for you know, how can we do better? You know, we're positioned in the Grand Rapids area is a vibrant area. The west side of the state is really growing. We're in a really good spot for a president to come in here. We have since Dr. Haas has been here, I think we've doubled our alumni base, something like that. So there's a huge growth in our alumni that we can develop, as someone was mentioning. There's a lot of opportunities for us to reach out and get involved. I think the areas where we really need work and where it's sort of the next level is difficult, we're working on our retention. Our retention's pretty good. Our retention is 3rd or 4th in the state. So to get to the next level is going to take some work. Okay, that's going to take some effort, and we have to think of different ways to do this. Our work in areas of inclusion and equity in our campus climate is good, but we have a lot more work to do. We're still a predominantly white institution. We don't match the state demographics yet. We have more work in that area. We need more resources in that area. We need more attention to the point where we do have students coming here saying, you know what, I think if I go to Grand Valley, I'll get trained and then I'll become a president somewhere because of what they see. So, I mean, it needs to be, we need more. And again, to get to that next level is difficult because we're already somewhat of an envy of other schools as to some of the things that we do. So those are, you know, those are challenges. Okay, it's like an athlete trying to run just that much faster at the Olympic level. So they are challenges for us, but I think for the right candidate, those are the kind of challenges you really want to jump in on.
Thank you. That's well said. Any other folks? No?
Now I feel like there's a couple of us just dominating, but please, others,
Go for it.
please, come on. So what's the next level? One of the things I think about, and I want to preface this by saying, our foundation, our core is our undergraduate education. We cannot lose that, period. However, if we're going to be the next level, I think we have to grow and distinguish our graduate programs. We've been working hard at that for a while now, but I think we still have a ways to go. And until we have a little bit more oomph there at our graduate level, it's going to be hard to gain that that stature, I think, that we're desiring for that next level if we're simply only focused on the undergraduate. And again, please hear me in saying that that has to be our primary focus and should be our primary focus moving forward, is the undergraduate programs and the excellence we have there. But we need to distinguish, I think, more our graduate programs as well for us to take that next step.
You can have both, of course. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dottie Barnes. I work in communications here, and I have to echo what everyone else has been saying, but I thought maybe it would be worth sharing a perspective from what I saw when I was telling my family and friends that we were searching for a new president, some whom have nothing to do with Grand Valley and don't know the Grand Valley story as personally as I do, yet their reaction was, "Oh no." And so I said, well, why do you say, "Oh no"? And it's because our current president has such a relationship with our students, faculty, staff, and community that even if they don't have that personal touch with him, they know of and have read of his reputation for being so personal and so caring, and he loves Grand Valley. So I would hope our new president, that it would be a given that they're a gifted leader, a strategic leader, has great vision with education to know the changes that are coming, to higher education specifically, to know how to get additional students here, how to make it more affordable, all of those things that I think we're in agreement with and a given, but how do you find someone who you just know is going to step on campus like our current president and already love it and exude that? We have the unique perspective in our office to watch social media, and when it was announced that President Haas would be retiring, Twitter exploded with students saying, "Oh no, not T. Haas, not T. Haas. This is so sad." And so we need to keep that in mind, I think, to know that our students would want that and deserve that, and also faculty and staff, of course, but he has that way about him where he's approachable, and that, in my opinion, is just so crucial that that person is gifted in that way, because not all great leaders have that. We could find some great leaders who accomplish everything we hope, but if that person lacks in that area, then I think that would be disappointing, but would be an awful thing. I mean, I think of brilliant doctors, and if I was going to a doctor and I could pick between two who I know would be absolutely successful on all levels with what I needed, but one was more personal, I know I would thrive and succeed and become more healthy with the person who I felt cared about me more, if that makes sense. So it just made me think, wow, from everything I must be communicating to my friends and family, especially the friends who aren't directly related to Grand Valley, and they were devastated by the news, that tells me I must be talking a lot about how wonderful and personable our president is. Thank you.
Thank you. Very well said.
Hi there, I'm Leah Twilley. Dottie is my coworker. I work in the University Communications Office. And part of my job is to manage social media for the university. And like Dottie said, Twitter, social media, Facebook, Instagram just exploded when President Haas announced that he was retiring. So to me, that really does say a lot, that our president is loved, cared for, and the person filling this new role has big shoes to fill. So thank you.
Anybody with any final comments or thoughts? Because I think we can. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Can I don't know if I'm directing this to you, Chris, or anybody else, but yesterday at the afternoon session, we went around the room and we asked people to say one or two words. I think you said one word, Tom, but people didn't. They had sentences to describe what they hope for most for the institution. And one person said to be the best public comprehensive university in the country. What would that mean to you? And is that an aspirational goal? Is that something that is worth pursuing? Or is that something that doesn't resonate? Because I've heard comprehensive a lot, and I've heard, we are the best regional, this, that, the other thing. I just would be curious what people think of that as an aspirational goal.
One word would be pride. Pride in Grand Valley.
I don't have one word. Sorry, as a faculty member, we don't have one word. I guess I was going to try to answer your question regarding the best comprehensive. I mean, quite honestly, I feel like we're that now. I don't know that we're recognized as that. Right. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing. I think when you mentioned, the best regional comprehensive, recognized in this region, I think that we're right there with that. If you ask somebody in California, would they recognize Grand Valley as that? Likely not. And that's kind of that next step that I was talking about. I think there's some outward, work that we need to do to make that happen. So, yeah, I think that I feel like we are there from that perspective. We can improve in many ways, obviously, but I think those who know of us would recognize us as one of the top comprehensive institutions.
Okay, thanks.
Coincidentally, I have a colleague who says, I love listening to Debbie. She doesn't speak in sentences, she speaks in paragraphs. So, one paragraph. My view of the university, of course, comes from inside of the library, and the neat part about that is that I actually get the opportunity to get outside of the building too. We by no means are sequestered, but it's kind of a neat view. And one of the things that's been true within the last 20 years, and probably in about the last 15, is that the university was growing. The provost at the time felt that it was appropriate to alter the leadership and structure of the library to the extent that the leadership position was elevated to a dean, and we ended up with an amazing person who took the library kind of on the same trajectory that I think we're talking about the university now, through skillful leadership and staff development, and always a core focus on students and our mission to put students first, built us into a nationally recognized library by our professional organization, the Association of College and Research Libraries. 2012, I think, we got the Excellence Award. That was before the new building. And I was intentional, was to make that application before it got pinned on a structure. It was pinned on what we were doing, what we were being. And once the building came along, and the dean had big piece in that vision too, and her ability to sell it, our recognition continued to grow because there was a lot of interest in building a facility that whose purpose was pinned again on the needs of students, not the needs of where to put books. If we could replicate through excellent leadership that kind of growth and continuing to expand our national profile, not because it's not good already, but because you need somebody to tell the story. That would be great.
I think best is sort of contextual. So if I want to be the best faculty member at Grand Valley, that means I better be a really good teacher, I better do scholarship and involve students, and I better infuse those two things together and hopefully have a heart for students, okay? If I am now suddenly relocated to a research institution, I won't even get tenure. So I better, to be the best there, I gotta change gears. So I don't really, the idea of being best in the nation scares me, because Mike mentioned mission creep, and where we might, decide, well, to be the best in the nation, we might need to do this, X, Y, or Z, and now we're not really Grand Valley anymore. So I really hope, again, we stay to our mission, and we are the best at implementing our mission that anyone can do in the country there. Now it's relative to us. So stay true to ourselves and really do it the best we can. I think that would make us the best.
This really is my last thought. You don't believe me, do you? So I was trying to think of this one word thing that you've mentioned. I was like, wow, that's hard to do. But I'm going to steal something here from our provost. Part of her platform is she keeps talking about quality. And I keep thinking about that word, and I think that does sum up a lot of what we are. We have quality students. We have quality. Now, you can put the word high quality in front of that. High quality faculty and staff. We have high quality programs. We have a high quality of living here in West Michigan. I just think, it might be a kind of a trite sort of a term, but it really resonates with me in terms of who we are. We're high quality, and I think that's something that people would recognize if they looked at us and took a deep look at who we are, and not just say like, well, people can say they're quality. I think if they look at us and they look at our programs, our students, and our faculty and staff, that would resonate, and they would say, yes, this is a high quality institution.
That was a good last word.
That's right. Maybe that's a good one to end on.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for coming and for speaking with us and giving us your viewpoint. It's very appreciated and will help us as we try to clarify this role and what we're looking for.
The email address.
Oh, yeah, you want to?
Yeah, sure. So there is a presidential search page on your website, and that actually lists all of these members of the committee. It lists the board resolution. It also is going to have the advertising and the position prospectus once we complete that. The first part of May, that'll be posted there. In that will be an email address. It's GVSU president at the name of my firm, storbecksearch.com. So you can go look at that. We would invite nominations. If you know of people you think we should contact, we would be happy to have those names. You could submit them to that email.